Hi, Cancer. Welcome to a love reading for October 2021. It's Rena here. And this is for people who are single as well as people who are in a relationship that is not working out. Okay, I'm doing a little bit different spread than I normally do. And so this is the situation at hand. We have the Queen of Wands. This is a woman who has the masculine element prominently displayed here. The fire element is with the wands. And Cancer is a feminine sign because it's a water sign. So actually, this is like water and fire. Okay, interesting. And some of you may have the sun in Cancer and the moon in Aries or the moon in Sagittarius, whatever, or Leo or something like that, or inner planets and maybe Mars and Leo or something. And basically, the situation at hand, if you are single, you may be very involved with your career, and so it's just difficult to meet new people. Everyone knows that, especially nowadays, this is the case. So the queen can also be the mother, so it could be like a working mother, but just really like spread thin and just not having time for that area of life. Obviously, if that's the case, you have to make time, unless you're just in a phase in your life where it's something that you would be depriving your children, or you would be depriving your work, like you don't have, if you have some kind of like goal that you want to accomplish, and having a love life would be just one more thing on your plate, maybe it's just not a good time because you can't do everything well necessarily. So if that is what is happening, take a look at your life, take a look at your goals. If you are in a relationship that is struggling, yes, of course, it could be because you cannot give enough to that other person. I'm talking about a spouse, or, whatever you want to call your significant other. And in that type of situation, that may, there might be other factors that are making the relationship not so good. But in some cases, relationships can't be salvaged because the people have just drifted apart due to not spending enough quality time together. So I would never just say, oh yeah, just leave a relationship. But I mean, obviously, if there are some really serious problems, that's a different story. I'm talking about that feeling of not having that connection anymore. It might just be that the people are so involved in their own life that they're having a hard time. And also, going back to what I was saying about like the career woman or the mother who's in a career, that takes a lot out of someone. And even like the father, the Cancer male who is a father, you as well have your job or your career, whatever you consider it, and then on top of that, you're a parent, and the partnership can get put on the back burner, and it doesn't mean that the relationship is dead. That is the bottom line. Other factors, maybe not so much. We have here where you've been coming from, and we have the Knight of Swords. So how we've gotten to this point. Knight of Swords could be the individual that you're with, and maybe there is compatibility issues if this is a literal air sign, so, or even a fire sign. I think the Knight of Swords is supposed to be a combination of air and fire. And when I talk about these, sometimes I am alluding to the actual elements and the signs that correspond with them, but sometimes it is the behavior. The air and the fire signs are going to be different because they're masculine signs. And the issue surrounding this is that they are signs that are connected with being more extroverted in the world. The feminine signs, whether it's a male or female who has the water and the earth signs, they tend to be more home-oriented and family-oriented. But that doesn't mean that the masculine signs can't have a family and all that. Yeah, they can. It's just that you are most compatible just initially with other water signs and earth signs because you're on the same page with how you view life. But you cannot generalize because there are plenty of examples of people that you may meet who happen to be earth or water signs, and you would just not get along with them. But this is what I'm really getting at. If you're involved with somebody who is more of an intellectual type of person in their mind, like an air sign, literally the signs are Gemini, Libra, and that's a big one for Cancers, Libra, and Aquarius. You may not be able to understand where they're coming from because, and same with fire, for different reasons, but kind of similar reasons, is that you don't feel that they're sensitive enough to your needs. And so with Cancer, that can be a really big bone of contention, where you feel like that person is insensitive, they're ignoring your needs, they're thinking that you are too much of a, I was going to say a whiner, but it's not really, I don't know if I would say whiner, a big baby. You're exaggerating your emotional hurts and all of that stuff, and they're going to, they might just kind of dismiss it. And you may, like, because this can be like a teacher or a lawyer, you may have gotten involved with them or you've run across them through your professional life or something like that, a book club, something where you share those mental pursuits or whatever you want to call them, those connections, and then you feel like they are not coming through with your emotional needs. So you have to, what I say to people is that if you're involved with somebody like this, you may have to adjust your expectations because you may be with a wonderful person, but you are coming from an empty cup perspective. You are looking for someone to fill you up when it's not their job. I'm not talking about people who are actually insensitive or hurtful or, like they're trying to hurt you. They are, insulting you or things like that. I'm talking about the way, I think they call it sometimes love language or something like that, where, we have different ways of showing that we care. And sometimes the two individuals, they don't appreciate that way because they think it's inadequate or they just don't think it's an example of it, and that can be like an erroneous way of viewing another person, and it can lead to dissatisfaction that doesn't need to be. Now, if you are a single person, you may have even adopted this armor and maybe sarcasm. Don't get it twisted. Cancers can be snarky when they want to, especially some of you Sun and Cancers, you have inner planets, maybe all of you have some inner planets in Gemini, including Mercury or or Venus, where you like to kind of be sarcastic with a person that you love teasing, just that Mars and Gemini. And that can lead to having those tendencies within yourself. So that Knight of Swords can be a facet of you that is kind of a defense mechanism to kind of act, play off whether or not you're that sensitive. And you may be kind of hiding behind that armor of sarcasm, and that is preventing you from really being authentic or, vulnerable. And being able to, but vulnerable, not in a manipulative way where you're saying, why aren't you giving me what I want, and guilting a person or something like that. I'm talking about vulnerable where you're like, yes, this is me, and I'm not always, I don't always feel secure. I don't always feel loved. And I have to learn how to meet my own needs. I am sometimes codependent, whatever you feel has been true for you in past relationships. What is coming in is the 10 of, I just lost the outcome card. What is coming in is the 10 of Cups. This is a card of marriage, of happily ever after. Now, when I say what is coming in, people, it's too easy to say, oh, I'm going to have this relationship. I think that these types of readings, more than me being some fortune teller with a scarf around my head, and I actually do have a scarf around my head, so maybe I should be a fortune teller. This isn't how I do things. I don't claim to be a psychic. When I'm doing this, it's kind of like a spiritual teaching of sorts, where we look at the cards and saying, what can that mean beyond divinatory, psychic kinds of things, predicting the future. It's really about what can you do with this information in your life, just on a daily basis, from a very grounded perspective. So the 10 of Cups to me, first of all, maybe there is somebody who is a water sign like you, like a fellow Cancer. I think, wow, 2 Cancers together, Scorpio or Pisces individual, and they really care about you. They really appreciate you as you are right now, not something that you need to do to get there. But also, what can you do to have that happily ever after? The number 10 is a number of attainment, a number of the end of a cycle, that kind of thing. And I got another 10 too. Wow. And so it's kind of like, to me, that you have to do something to kind of like, maybe you have to tie up some loose ends in your life in order to get to this place, because you have to make space for marriage. So if you're already in a marriage or that type of relationship, maybe it's time to, I was going to say renew your vows, but I don't mean like you actually have to go through with it that way. But in your mind, am I, devoting myself to this marriage, or am I neglecting it because of my own ambition? And that is something that can be a little bit, it can kind of be threatening to really think about that and think, wow, I'm part of this dance. I'm not saying that the other person isn't responsible as well, but I am too. And I'm feeling sorry for myself. And meanwhile, there are things I can do to make this better. And when it comes to another person, you can't change that person, but you can change how you act in this relationship. And sometimes, yes, if another person seems to be changing their behavior, then we might kind of react to that, and then we start acting. If they withdraw than we might withdraw. And instead, what if you did the opposite of that? If somebody withdraws, what if you became not clingy or something like that, but you became more kind or more generous in terms of how you relate to that person? Because I think when we notice that somebody is pulling back, there's two things that tend to either happen. Either the other person feels like scared and desperate and becomes like suspicious and like, what are you doing? You're cheating on me. And they become aggressive in that sense. Or they withdraw out of fear, like a fear of rejection. So they withdraw too because they don't want to be hurt. So they try to act like they're going to become invulnerable. But those aren't the only two choices. You could be, coming at that person with love and, not suspicion, not fear, with love. So we have here the advice, and this is based on the 10 of Wands, another 10. And this is about, to me, sometimes this can be like with work matters, that you're just like biting off more than you can chew, or you're risking burnout because you're working so much. And so if you're single, you might be wrapping up a project. And so give yourself a break. Don't try to do too much. Maybe this is not a good time to date because you just have a lot on your plate. And, acknowledge that and try to focus on your goals if that's the case. If you're in a relationship, what you can do with the 10 of Wands, how I see this, is not about carrying somebody else's load, but taking responsibility for your part in the relationship. So just kind of like what I was saying is, don't wait for somebody else to give you what you want. You be what you would like to see from the other person. And see how that works. You don't have to, it's not a manipulation. I mean, it's something that should be occurring anyway. A lot of times we don't like to admit this, but we are conditional in the way that we love or accept another person. And if they're not giving us what we want, we can kind of be withholding and that kind of thing. And there's a generosity with the 10 of Wands. So it's really about loving that person regardless and seeing what happens. If you have a tendency to sulk, I'm thinking specifically of, Cancer strategies, or manipulations. If you want that other person to know that you're unhappy, that's just a manipulation. And yes, I believe that we should be very open and saying, look, I'm feeling that you're pulling back and all that. But sometimes, rather than even doing that, we can just give that person more of us. Not in a desperate way, though, but not in a manipulative way looking to get something, but just because we know that it's not about conditional love. It's not about what somebody can give us. It's about if you love someone, you love them. Sometimes when I'm doing private readings, a person will say, well, I really love this person. And, then they tell me something that the other person is kind of like slipping away or, not giving them what they want. And I said, what's the problem? If you love them, love them. You don't have to see what I'm trying to expose within them is that they really secretly have this need for that other person to give them something. So there's an agenda there a lot of times. And when you let go of that need for that person to give you what you want, you find that everything comes to you because it's kind of like the law of attraction. You're letting go of resistance. And the outcome, this is a prime example of that, is the Eight of Wands. So it's more wands, it's passion. And it's coming like, there's this term in physics, and I didn't even take physics because I failed chemistry all the way through when I was in high school. But when I went back to college in my 30s, I took chemistry and I got an A because I really had gotten interested in it through working in a health food store, and they had a lot of these, concepts with the vitamins and all that, and just nutrition. And it was something that it was really, I'm really proud of that I got an A in chemistry in community college, because it was something that, no, actually it was in a regular university. Yeah, I'm proud of myself because it wasn't like a subject I was really good at. But there's that term in physics, potential energy. And really, it's like when, you're not releasing energy, it has its own energy, but it's like in this state of suspension. And that can be very powerful when it gets released, because it has that velocity to it. I have no idea how to explain it, but you know what it means when you have that spring and it's like before it sprung. So you may be somebody, like, especially like if you're single and you've been waiting to meet somebody and maybe you've been working very hard. I feel like, what I feel like with that 10 of Wands, it's like, live your life. Do what is in front of you. If you're single, and yes, a Cancer person is very caring, and being a water sign, you just want somebody to love, right? And you want to be loved, but it has to come in its own time. And when you're doing what's in front of you, and you're not like resentful, or I don't know, feeling empty, and you're just living life, I feel like you can have what you want because you will attract it. And this is like, it comes like in gangbusters. And it just is like, it's been waiting for you. This is in October, we're having these planets direct. We're having a lot of forward motion during the second half of October. And that can be the time when you start to see things really move forward in your life. But at any time, you can meet the person that you're meant to be with. Even like during the Mercury retrograde, maybe somebody that you met at an earlier time and maybe it wasn't the right time, they can contact you, or an ex that neither one of you were in a good place. You never know. So I hope that this resonated with you. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. I do a lot of astrology readings. That's why I incorporated so much in my tarot readings. You can find out more information at rainamoonastrology.com. As I said, the link is below. Thanks for watching. Take care.